I just implore you, this is local board input, this is not the item. I'm sure you can all do your passionate speeches at the item, but Councillor Fletcher had indicated she wanted to. So, and as I say, the final meeting, I'm not going to be dogmatic, but I do ask for, you know, let's be a little bit lenient, but not too lenient. Councillor Filipaina, you have a question of the local board?
Yes, definitely.
For our visitors.
Page 12 on the handout that we've received, and this is in regards to the funding streams. Is the $150,000 you've mentioned on page 12, is that the contribution that the local board will be making as part of the Auckland Council family? Michael, you know, when you ended up sort of talking about the fiscal responsibility and everything else, but is that the 150 that the local board will be putting in?
So that's to be addressed. So just to break down on this page, the 300,000 is the 300,000 that was sitting there. It's been there for about from before amalgamation for the marquee, and the idea is to transfer it to this project. The 150k is an extra request that J Watt is making of the council organisation, to be determined where that might come from. Conceivably could be local board, conceivably could be an annual plan request next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions? Right. I think probably Councillor Fletcher will move that we receive the presentation, and Councillor Clow will second that. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. And as I say, we will do this item now.
Thank you, and good luck all.
Great. Thank you. So we do have extraordinary business. No extraordinary business. Notice of motions, and I will move that item number 13 will be order of change the order of the precedence. Sorry, my mind's in 50 places at once. I'll move that. Councillor Clow will second it. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Right. Thank you very much. Now we've heard. I think we've had the report. I'd like to take it as read unless you want to just make some comments. I think we've heard from Michael clearly.
Appreciate bringing the item forward so it can provide some contrast and greater information. I will just point out this report was written in response to the resolution which asks two questions. Can the 300k capex currently allocated to the marquee be transferred to this sort of a project? And the second question was, could a trust relationship structure be an appropriate vehicle to deliver it? So that's what the report addresses primarily, but it also gives a bit of a background. So.
Yes, thank you. And I remember we did that at the annual plan time. Yeah, I can remember that well. So questions? Everyone.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to move the recommendations, but in so doing, note the real importance of establishing a trust, because there are going to be significant costs associated with this.
Happy to second.
They're not costs that can be borne by ratepayers alone, and I think that this is a real opportunity to start moving the issue forward constructively.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. You, Councillor Lee.
Happy to second, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Chair, I just want to speak to this. Well, I heard Councillor Fletcher stating her case, the case for this project, but I just want to really say to councillors that there are other projects across the Auckland region which have got, which are art facilities, and I just don't think that we should be in a forum such as this without going through some process, making off-the-cuff decisions on what, giving anyone the belief that they have the inside running. Because I can think of one in my territory which is also high in the pecking order list, and I think, I'd just like to know from the officers what process is going to be gone through in order to rank these different projects.
The officer might like to, but Councillor I would remind you that the 300,000 was actually allocated for a project in this area for the marquee project. During the annual plan round, we asked the officers to to investigate whether or not this could be changed from the Marquee project that is not going to be done to the Foray project. And this is the report back that says yes, it can.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just say that these projects have got a very good track record of starting off small and all compact and all within the budget. And next thing we find out that things have kind of gone along and they need more budget than is allocated. And council is always the last line of resistance as far as getting that funding. So I do think that, and Councillor Filipina would probably bear me out here, that there are a lot of other projects in the pipeline that have been asked, where council have been asked for funds, and because we're pretty strapped at the moment, we aren't really being able to allocate those funds to these various projects. So I think, and the office is nodding when I say that, so obviously there's some support for what I'm saying. So I think...
I thought he was nodding the other way.
Well, I thought you were nodding at what I was saying. I'm helpful. That's very helpful. So I just want to put that as a caveat around this. And it's very good to, the board just comes in and says, we want to do this. But, we have got processes like annual plans and where a number of items are going to be relitigated, I understand. So that's the proper place for us to make decisions. So.
Thank you, Councillor Wood, and I reiterate for councillors that this was brought to us as an annual plan item, which we then asked the officers to do. So would you like to comment?
Without gesticulation, I'll try to do that. Council does have a process for that prioritisation that you're talking about, and that's a community facility network plan. And within that plan, we're looking at everything across the community facility portfolio that makes up our network of art centres, community centres, etc. On that list, there's an action priority list of what's absolutely at the top and what's down to item number 50 that might take a few years to address. On that action plan is the Marquee project, which was to provide function in education space on Par Homestead. So it actually does exist in the prioritisation, but what we also acknowledge that within council things happen outside of that nice, clear, planned way. And we do have projects that come up, whether it's heritage, do we have an asset that is vulnerable that we need to address now? Do we need to revisit that list of priorities? It is always going to be a trade-off because, yes, we don't have an unlimited amount of money, and we also acknowledge that the current portfolio is a very expensive portfolio to manage, and we always have to make prioritisations about the level of investment. The report before you today talks about transferring to the project the 300k, but also highlights the fact that we do need to do, as officers and as council, some due diligence around financial prudence, and to really understand what we're getting into long term in terms of consequential OPEX, maintenance, repairs, all those sorts of insurance, resourcing on a park, how would it be leased, etc. So we're not blindly going into anything here. We're saying, look, this seems like the right direction. We have some due diligence to do to sign off, and that no one's going to spend money without doing that.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, are you aware of a project on the North Shore at 2 the Strand in a council building which is people have been promoting as an art centre for quite some time? Are you aware of that one?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I am. And in fact, there it is. That particular trust has a grant of around 300k. It's now sitting at about 260 that we as council and legacy councils gave to that organisation to develop an idea in a very similar way. Nothing has happened to this point, and there needs to be some due diligence around that as well. It strengthens the idea that before actually spending money, before handing money over, we need to really understand what we're dealing with. Otherwise, we can have a similar situation where there's a stalemate for 6 or 7 years and nothing's actually happened. So we need a plan to move forward.
Thank you.
And it's not unique to either of these two locations.
Thank you. Councillor Clow.
Well, Councillor Wood, that project's not off the ground, is it? It's nothing happening. I thought you were talking about the Bruce Mason Centre. The issue.
Don't draw him out.
The issue with this.
Councillors.
No, the councillor's obviously confused. He's obviously confused.
Councillors. I'm trying to stay very positive in the last financial meeting of this term. Thank you.
We had to rescue the Bruce Mason Centre. But anyway, Councillor Wood, I think the issue here is the Power Homestead is basic. I think it had visitor... the guide was to try and get 30,000 visitors. I mean, it's up over 100,000. The issue here is it's a great success, so that's why we need to just keep this rocking. I just emphasise again, this is just a reallocation. It's just moving from one project to the other, so it's not any capital expenditure. And of course, and the way the council's moving forward, we're very, very keen on PPP type projects, and this is a trust that really is going to stump up with finding a lot of money elsewhere. So I heartily endorse all the councillors get behind this project, please.
Thank you, Councillor Clough. Councillor Cashmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the CarePax is one issue that probably can be solved with it, arguably the oldest building, educational facility in Auckland. So, but the OPEX, so I see that the James Wallace Arts Trust has done a business case on the operational side, and with some support from the local board. And yet we're also proposing to do another iteration of the business case. Could you explain the complexities around that, please?
Absolutely. So there is... It comes down to a little bit about terminology and where the risk sits. So what we've got before you is a business case based on the operations of the site. There's something wider than that, which is about council's investment. So by having what appears to be a cost neutral from the operations point of view, business case, which is fine, but actually it won't be cost neutral to council. So who is replacing the asset, doing the repair, the response, maintenance, security, associated costs with having that in the insurance portfolio, etc., etc. So there's a whole lot of consequential stuff from the council side that council needs to address and understand. And is the renewals program going to increase because of this? And so on and so forth. So it is to look at it independently, to provide a robust pair of eyes over the business operations case, to provide them with support. So everyone, both parties, know exactly what we're getting into. Part of the business case would also understand what the operational interrelationship between council and the partners would be. We know we've got some very successful examples, such as the Lopdale Development Trust out west, which delivered an incredible gain to council, but that was formed specifically for the project, and the membership of that trust was made up according to the skills and demands of the project. So the part of the business case would say, okay, to ensure robustness, transparency, and financial predictability and prudence, we would have a structure that would look like X, Y, Z. It would be, have a sinking fund. We don't want to be in the situation, as pointed out, where 3 years down the track we have to support or carry risk.
So today's decision, Madam Chair, with your forbearance, is just another step down a pathway of, okay, does this thing get a green light or not? Yeah, so it's moving it forward, but it's not completely a done deal yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair. And over the last 5-6 years, through the Arts, Culture, Events Committee, we've had several reports come through around the marquee and the funding. So, I mean, for me, knowing that it is a step in the process is a tick for me. Also knowing that the local board have instigated at least the heritage status and work to get that done is also another tick. Reading this around 1888, I think, was in the report here. So, that's a very good tick. Also, I think for me, it is through you, Chair, the conversation around that 150,000. The conversation is where it's coming from the Auckland Council body, hopefully, whether it be through annual plan process and the local board, at least there a discussion will take place. So I'm very supportive of this. And Richard, you mentioned around all the prioritisation that we have, and the 300,000 being assigned and it's existing there. And, the marquee, the project around the marquee, as Zoe and was saying, it's going to achieve some of what we wanted originally for the marquee, and that's hosting, but also as a centre of learning So, look, I'm very supportive of this as the next step stage within this process. So, yeah, well done. Good luck, local board.
Right, thank you very much. And I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you.
Very nice time.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Now, councillors, we have